Welcome to Trail Mix, a fresh blend of what's happening at Rowan-Cabarrus Community College and in the world of higher education. It's everything you need to keep you informed, inspired, and as always, navigating forward. Today, we're joined with two special guests from our R3 Career Services. We have Keri and Cassandra, and we're very excited about this conversation that we're about to have and explore how impactful this Career Services program is for our community. So welcome.
Hi, Carter. Thank you for having us. I am Keri Allman, and I am with the R3 team.
I'm Cassandra Barrier. I'm an R3 career specialist.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here today. Just to kind of get things started and kind of fill in our audience a little bit, can you all walk us through how the R3 Career Services came to be? Why was it created? Things along those lines.
What's really cool is that R3 just turned 18 in January.
Wow. 18 years of providing resources and being impactful in the community. Wow.
But things have changed a lot in 18 years. The reason R3 was started was at a pivotal moment in our local history. And to kind of set the stage for it, just when you're thinking about employers today and you're thinking about places to work, if we started talking about a place where you could go and you could work and the employer built a whole town for you to live in within walking distance of where you work, they were going to build movie theaters, grocery stores, all different levels of schools, a place for you to exercise, all sorts of social interaction. The employer was going to build all of that so you could do everything and walk to work. That was the history that we were walking into in 2003. And at the end of July of 2003, 4,600 people lost their job. We were the center for the largest single-day layoff in Southeastern history. And that's not including all the people that had jobs that were connected to the 4,600. And that was from the Pilatex closing. That was the age of textile manufacturing that so much of our workforce in North Carolina was built on. And so in 2003, it was a shift. It was not only an employer that closed, it was a change of life for people. And so there was a lot of interest in what do we do to help, but it wasn't just they need to go straight into a different job. It was we need to find what's going to work for them. Because they lived and worked in an occupation that encapsulated everything, we actually met people during that time that had never even been on the interstate. And they were about 7 miles away from the interstate. There was a quote that was said, "The mill was the life." And it very much was. So we had a lot of changes. The R3 Center that would take a couple years to establish actually opened in January of 2007. And that stands for 3 R's, which is Refocus, Retrain, Reemploy. That refocus piece is very important because the world of work has definitely changed. And what we learned is that while things have changed, the one thing that remains true with R3 is the formula, refocus being the very first step. And everybody today, whether you're employed, unemployed, never started work, people need help in navigating how career and employment fit into their life and how it changes their life.
Yeah. And there was a fun story you shared with me. There was some significance to where the actual building of the R3 Center in Kannapolis, it was in the Swanee Theater, I believe.
The significance of the Swanee and R3 being located there was we really were connecting all the pieces from what had started happening in Kannapolis in 2003 to the current. And this is where the formal announcement was made that the plants would be closing. And for that reason, it made it extra special for the R3 team to be there. There was part of the museum that was left. So you actually were walking past one of the earliest 1900 looms that would progress into the manufacturing side of things. People were walking through history to learn about their future. And there were a lot of people at that time that felt maybe disconnected, but it was the perfect opportunity for Rowan-Cabarrus to say, this is your town, this is your area. So we became a continuation of a welcome center. We met people that would never walk on to a college campus, but they were able to meet Rowan-Cabarrus right there in the middle of downtown Kannapolis. So it helped us plant seeds that are still blooming today.
Yeah. You said they have to walk through their history to see their future.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that sums it up. Thank you for sharing that with us. Cassandra, I want to kick it over to you for a second. You guys are bringing back something that you had done previously, the resume clinic, as part of the career services. Can you kind of explain a little bit of what led to that return? Or
Well, we've always been helping with resumes. However, we had been requested by partners that we work with in both counties, could we provide a resume clinic? And this is where Keri took over and did such a great job, because we are going to provide virtual and in person. We're excited that we get to do it both ways. We know that resumes can be difficult for many people, and we know the resume is so important to introduce yourself to get the interview.
Let's talk about resumes, Carl. Let's talk about this. So the fact of the matter is, resumes are awful. And when the clinic started in 2007, well, why do we call it a resume clinic? Why didn't we call it a resume workshop? Because the concept of the clinic is we're trying to do career health care. Because we're trying to talk to people and tell them this is a living, breathing document. This is not a career obituary. This is not a one and done. This is something that you have got to learn. And sometimes that's a concept that's very hard for people to attach to. The reason why is because you can go online and they'll tell you that this is something that you can do and do rather quickly, but it's not. So let me journey with you on this one. So let's just say you want to take a picture and you want to post it on social media. How long does it take you to do that? Come on, Carter, give me a guess. What are you thinking? How long does it take? You took a picture. You know, it's an important picture. It's not your lunch. We're talking about something like your kid had a great moment in school, or you decided to get engaged. If it was something like that, how long would it take you?
I mean, it shouldn't take too long. I mean, some people could take a couple seconds, some people a minute.
Well, see, this is the thing in the world that we live in, because a lot of us don't understand the concept of time that we put into those things. You take the picture, then you're looking at the picture. You're like, how fat do I look? You know, do I need to do a different angle? Do I need to use a filter? It eats up time. If you actually use your online resources and you ask the question, how much is the average time that it takes a person to do a thoughtful post? Not the information dump, but it's going to tell you it's about 30 minutes.
Wow.
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
About 30 minutes for a post.
Yeah.
Some people are doing it in crazy places like bathrooms, but you put more thought into it than you think, okay?
Yeah, from initial idea to when it's out there in the world.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's for one snapshot of a time in your life.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think if it takes 30 minutes for a social media post, that a resume can be done in an hour? That is one of your biggest marketing tools. And one of the things that the clinic does is it breaks away the expectation, because that's why people get overwhelmed. Oh, I'm going to sit down and do a resume today. I'll get it done in like 2 hours or whatever. No, you're probably not. You're going to be stressed out. So we have to break up resumes in digestible pieces. Resume clinic is going to do some triage, because there's going to be a person that comes into the clinic and says, I just need a resume today. I got to apply for this job. If I don't have my resume, I can't apply for the job. I get it. Resume clinic will provide a Band-Aid. But the idea behind this is we can give you the tools to where you're going to have a healthy resume that, minus you being able to update and make changes to, you're going to be ready to go. We're also going to lay it out in a format that actually builds you the scripts and the tools you need for interviews and for how to network. It's also going to tell you, hey, look, if you just add this little teeny tiny thing with a certification or a training, it's going to make all the difference in your resume. But the clinic is designed to get everybody on the same page. Resume advice and opinions, there's no such thing as right or wrongs on resumes. Everybody's got an opinion and it works differently for different people. We ain't here to argue with that. But you have to know which advice fits you. And then the technical side, which is if you are submitting your resumes electronically, what might the computer not read or not be able to load? So what's the point of doing all that work on your resume if you're sending it into HR and they can't pull up the document? There's technical things that we have to work on, but the ownership comes from the person. Yeah. So that's what the clinic is going to be doing. So we're excited to talk to people in the clinic. Also, the POW method is going to be a feature in the resume clinic. The POW method is plan it, own it, work it. You gotta work it. So with planning, when you're going through your work history, like I said, it's not a career obituary. You got to go beyond it. It's not just the dates that you worked and all these other things. Resume advice out there will tell you got to pull out accomplishments. Well, how do you pull out an accomplishment when you didn't feel like you had accomplishments? What if you don't have any working experience? You have to learn how to be able to say certain things like, I specialize in liquidation of personal items and inventory. That means you had a yard sale, but it sure don't sound like it, right?
That's the fanciest sounding job title for having a yard sale that I've ever heard.
Yeah. We know how to work it. I just want to say some people have areas that they don't feel comfortable listing on a resume or gaps in employment history. We know how to do it so that you're being honest, but you're also able to show the skill sets because we're always developing skills. Just sometimes they're in an employment opportunity and sometimes they're just developed in other ways. We will find a way to put that in there. That's all in the planning stages of the POW method that we'll talk about in the resume clinic.
Those are great examples. You said the resume is kind of getting you in the room, but you guys also focus on interview practice. What else?
Well, when we get into the refocus piece, we really got to figure out where you're going with all this first, right? I mean, what type of jobs are you applying for? Why are you applying for jobs? Is it because you're fresh to the world of work, just straight out of high school? Or is it that you lost your job?
Or you look like me and you need to do something different?
Right, yeah, you just want to do something. No, I'm not agreeing with you. What I'm saying is that, change, life change. Yeah. There's all sorts of reasons why you're going. We need to have a conversation with you about where you're thinking about sending out these resumes, because it's not a one-size-fits-all. For you to be a beacon of hope, you have to kind of figure out where they are. So a lot of people meet with R3 and with the resume services, and that's just an entry point. We're going to make sure once we get involved that you have a career specialist, and that person is designed to make sure that we're meeting all the needs, so it's a holistic approach to where you're at.
What's exciting also, she mentioned adding the certification to a resume. We're in the position where we can offer short-term training. A lot of that training, we have scholarships. So many people like to see our list and offerings, and then maybe that will change their career path. I see many people, and they are in the position that they need a job now. But it's exciting to them that they have the opportunity to be trained for that job. And we have so many programs that they can be part of.
And we have a lot of people that initially come in that they say, I'm never going back to school. And they're coming to see Rowan-Cabarrus, and they're seeing the R3 team. And so what we also have to do is make sure you understand, what does school mean? What does training mean? It don't mean what you think, because here's the thing. Cassandra has a wonderful opportunity that if someone comes in and says, I'm not interested in any type of training, Cassandra says, well, guess what? I can certify what your skills are right now. There's a certification that we have that's a workplace certification that can tell an employer what level your skills are right now without doing anything else. You go in and it's a testing that's not like a reading and math test where you have to be able to remember what to do with decimals and fractions and all those things. It's a test that asks you questions that are workplace scenario questions. And if you use a calculator, if you lose your fingers, your toes, or write down stuff on paper, whatever you have to do to get to the answer, that's what the test is looking for. So it certifies your skills. And that's very important to be able to tell employers, because thinking about whatever job you started on in the past, how long were you trained? Or were you thrown into the deep end of the pool and just started swimming with everybody else? I mean, that happens a lot out of necessity. The certification that we're describing can tell an employer how fast you can swim.
Yeah. I would imagine you have a lot of participants come to you guys looking for a Band-Aid to an immediate problem that they have, just looking for that immediate solution so that they can keep moving. When you have those people come to you, not understanding you guys can help them with a more permanent solution, do you have any experience with some of those participants who really just were looking at that short-term fix, but you guys were able to provide so much more to help set them up for the future?
We've had so many that come through that in a 3 months' time, they have a job as a nursing assistant. They've taken the course. They've been certified. They actually are able to get a job. EMT had a person actually come through trying to get recertified, and thankfully someone here in our EMS department was able to connect them with a job. So the Band-Aid happened quickly while they were recertifying
two stories that come to mind that were particularly inspirational. One was a woman that we were working with that we actually met because we're boots on the ground in a women's shelter, who was very terrified of what was going on within her personal life and did not think that there was a chance that she would be able to reach on to a career or training. She was trying to get by. We were able to talk about the small steps which would eventually lead through patience and time and working with the team to her entering training, because we looked at all the things that were going around and what would help her. We got her to think outside of the box, and we realized that driving a truck might just be what we needed. So she joined our truck driving program, and a year later she came back happy as could be, making over $80,000 a year and seeing the country with her 2 Chihuahua dogs and her new man. And that is great considering where she was. There was moments that she questioned, how can you talk about a career and a job when you've got questions about your personal safety? That's the craft of the team, the R3 team. Because we're boots on the ground, we understand those things that are going on, and we were able to get that. The other story is that we had an individual that got connected with basic skills training, was going for their GED, and got connected with R3 services and would go on to complete an associate's degree here at Rowan-Cabarrus and then a master's. And all of those things took time. And coming from incarceration all the way through that path was a huge thing, because not only was that person's life changed, what they said was by going through the services and the way that the college helped, I had plenty of opportunity that I could have just returned to a life. It was much easier to do that, but with the assistance and the hands-on that we had through this, I was able to get to the finish line and not only have a wonderful career opportunities ahead of them, but a change in life.
Yeah, I think that's like one of the beautiful things about this being part of the community college. You've got the Refocus and you got the retraining, but establishing a foundation that you can go from, walking in those doors to a job driving a truck, making a great salary, or go on to get your associate's, bachelor's, master's, doctorate. Like, you can go anywhere if you've just got that foundation and if you stay focused. Those are great examples of why the career services exists. So one last question. There's got to be a cost to some of this. So for people coming through that door, how do you pay for these services? How does someone go through that process?
Well, people who are unemployed, underemployed, most of them receive our services at no cost. And we also have scholarships that can help people who may not qualify so that they can get these services at no cost to them.
That's amazing. So we're really trying to eliminate all barriers here. You should be able to walk in, get these services, get back on your feet, or start to build that foundation with as few barriers as possible. That's what we're in the business of, kind of removing those barriers, helping people navigate through those barriers.
With Rowan-Cabarrus being so insightful to have R3 out in the community, here's the deal. You can talk to R3 for free, but taking a look at the line of services and potential training and all those things, that's where we talk about funding. But Rowan-Cabarrus has R3 out in the community, so you can talk to us, and there's no blockade from us at that point, which we love. But when we're looking at training, when we're looking at more extensive services that you need, we are also very blessed that our community partners and our support has worked with us to make sure that that's not only available within the community, that there's funding that would be available. And an example of that is the Rowan County Commissioners gave us the Better Jobs for Better Lives program, which is an R3 programming that we run, which basically means we are out looking for Rowan County residents to see what we can do to help them in their career exploration and with all things related to workforce development. So there's no charge to get involved with us, to come and talk with us, but at some point in time, the team is going to ask you for just a little bit of paperwork because we do a registration, which is so cool. Because the fact of the matter is wherever you see Cassandra, myself, the other R3 team members, I can make you a student of Rowan-Cabarrus Community College where I meet you. That could be at a job fair. That could be at a host agency. I try not to do it at other places like grocery stores, gas stations, and other places where I am testifying to the complete and utter fabulousness of R3 programming in Rowan-Cabarrus. But there are some people that started off saying, I will never go back to school. Well, ta-da, you just became a student right there and you didn't even have to do anything. So it helps.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been such a fun conversation, packed with so much information. Speaking of information, you can find out more on the R3 Career Services program at www.rccc.edu/R3.
That's our page. The resume clinic is a featured option on there. So when you go to the site, it'll ask you for a little bit of information so you can set up an appointment. We want to make sure we always have an appointment and dedicated time for you. So while we don't take walk-ins, if you call us, we will schedule an appointment. And most importantly, we have virtual meetings and appointments. So when you are logging on to the website, it also have our phone number if you want to call it that way. But it's just a great way to get started quick.
That's awesome. So make an appointment. That's key.
We don't want to have to share your time with anybody else. This is about you. So when you call, we'll get you an appointment set up and make sure that you have our time.
It's perfect. And again, that's www.rccc.edu/R3. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Carter.
Thanks for listening to Trail Mix. For more stories, updates, and to learn more about how Rowan-Cabarrus Community College can help you navigate forward, visit us at www.rccc.edu. Next time on Trail Mix.
So we were asking ourselves, what are these different pathways and how can we ensure that students have the sort of tools, the knowledge, the resources, and the support to make sure that they can reach that end goal whichever way they need to get there.